Space cowboy in the galaxy wide, spreading love, can't hide his stride. Venus to Mars, every starry night, laughing loud, shining so bright. Rocket boots dancing on the moon, charming hearts with his cosmic tune. Guitar strumming under alien sun, he won't stop till the day's won. He's the intergalactic gigolo, galaxy-wide he's the show. Spreading love everywhere he goes, stars and laughter in his flow.
What is up? What is up? What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Today is January 11th, 2025. We are here for another brand new episode of Intergalactic Gigolo. And holy crap, has the new year gone to one hell of a start. Am I right? We got Los Angeles on fire. We got monuments in Washington fucking getting struck by lightning as if it was a weird omen. Whew. We got even more sightings coming out in regards to UFOs. We've got, and God, it's probably a good thing that I have issues with my pancreas, because otherwise there's some stuff that stirred up dealing with family dramas and all that would probably make me want to start drinking. I'll be honest. But anyway, Today, I wanted to take some time to answer a few questions that some of y'all have been having in regards to certain projects, to basically a little bit of everything that's been going on lately, because, well, it's the 2020s and you just don't know what's going to happen next now, do you? So, in the interest of trying to, how do I put this? Get this as most thought as possible. I did pre-record some responses, which may give this episode an extra long runtime. Excuse me. But I do need to address one thing. This one of the women in the background, roughly, right here, she does actually have some sort of clothes on. I will say that she is not topless in this photo, even though it looks like it. I wasn't really paying attention when I put together the stuff, but I was like, wait a second, is she naked? No. We're good. No. The image generators that I use to make this stuff, if they go to produce images like that, they just won't show them. So that was not directly intentional, but good to see that some of y'all noticed. Not to sound like too much like a creepy guy, but I just wanted to address that because there's been a few people that messaged me about that. Okay. Anyway. So, like I said, I do have a video with some pre-recorded responses to some of the questions y'all have been having for me lately. I'm going to get it pulled up. I tried to be a good boy and have it up, ready to go, so that way it could just, play and we can, without issue. But it would not want to play nice. So we're having to try to do this the long way. So, here we go.
The specialist of the strange, ready for the fight. Justice won't prevail. He's uncanny light.
Hello, everyone. I'm sure you already saw me do an intro for this, but
the special.
Ah, shit! It's glitching. Fuck! I still have nightmares from the female pic of you, Dakota. Hey! Hey! I look damn good as a woman. Oh, for those of you who don't know, an old show we used to do on this platform, I was trying to show off the capabilities of AI. And me and my former co-host, I put our pictures through some of the filters that made us into women. And let's just say I look damn good. I'll admit I did try to give myself a little bit more attention when putting those together. So if I seem like I'm monologuing just to try to fill the air, you're not wrong. Okay. Try to figure out what the hell happened with this video because the damn cats kept jumping on the keyboard and messing shit up. So, kitties. Gotta love them, right? Gotta love them. That's why I'm a dog person. Well, I usually am a dog person, but I had a weird cat with extra toes all of a sudden love up to me, and I didn't have the heart to ignore her. So, I guess I'm part cat person too. So, anyway, let's try this shit again. Come on. You gonna cooperate? Okay, here we go. Hello, everyone. I'm sure you already saw me do an intro for this, but a little while ago, I asked if any of you had some questions for me, being that I'm starting to get back into the grind of things, trying to get to communication out with y'all to discuss everything that's been going on with this episode and with company in general, and just kind of a response of what's kind of going on in the world right now. Because let's face it, the 2020s are not going to let down anytime soon as far as weirdness. So I decided to pre-record this message basically to allow myself to share this information with as little distraction as possible. The program is still live. I will be observing the chat as best as I can. You know, just be respectful. Hold on. Yes, the show is live, but I know that I can get easily distracted, so this is how I decided to do things. So, without further ado, that is the first question.
You mentioned that you have been taking courses while you went on hiatus. What sorts of courses have you been taking and through what platform?
What courses have I been taking and what platform? Well, there's actually a few. Um, like I mentioned, I was taking up courses dealing with artificial intelligence, which was actually provided by a platform that shit, what was it? Microsoft had actually set it up itself, so it's attuned to a lot of Microsoft products, but it is a very useful knowledge base. I'm trying to remember what it was. Microsoft. Anyway, I'll look it up later. But there was a number of different platforms that all offered different like certifications, basically showing that you did complete the course. Some of these course platforms offer actual degrees that you can get. Many of these courses can actually be taken for free. So it is something I encourage a lot of people to take up on. Do your own research, see what works for you. One of the platforms I'm taking courses on is called EDX, and if you actually look, I'm going to try to make sure I have the links to all the different course platforms. None of these are affiliate links whatsoever. So that way you can kind of check them out for yourself if that is what you so desire. Anyway, as I was saying, you were wondering what kind of courses I was taking. There was one that was established with Microsoft dealing with artificial intelligence, how large language models work. Basically, it's my way of getting better insights into artificial intelligence, being that, yes, I obviously have integrated it into Bald and Bonkers functions, which is actually going to be part of a question, part of the next question, as a matter of fact. So we'll get to more of that later. But I've also been taking up materials in forensics, archaeology, Egyptology, as well as a few others. Basically, I'm at a point in my life where I realize the world is rapidly changing, and to be fair, it could very well it's it's time I adapt with it. It's time to grow, do something better, and taking these courses through these online platforms that allows me to work it into when I have free time in my own schedule because helping keep an eye on my sister's kid, running ball and bonkers, going to my civilian job, all of that takes up a lot of my focus. So it allows me to fit things in where I can on my own time, go at things at my own pace. So it just works better for me. It's not a solution for everybody, but it is something I highly recommend for a lot of people because again, the world's changing and it's changing rapidly. So we got to do something to either keep up or we're just going to be left behind. Anyway, next question, please. Next question, which is
Do you believe there is a chance that critics might dismiss your work, given that you are so open about utilizing AI?
you know what? Here's what I got to say about that. Critics are going to try to pick apart anything and everything I do, regardless of what I do. Somebody out there is going to try to pick it apart. Some of them have genuine academic reasons for doing this. They're wanting to understand how things work, and maybe I didn't explain certain things well. Normally, these are the types of individuals I encourage because they're more likely to ask questions to try to get my side of things. However, as a lot of people have been getting increasingly frustrated with for how long it's been allowed to prosper, the fact that social media, you could probably even throw in the concept of woke culture into this, but social media being a big factor in it. Even when you're in a situation where you're not wanting to give much attention for whatever the reason may be, silence is often interpreted that you don't legitimately care about the situation being discussed. In this context, if people want to dismiss my work because I utilize artificial intelligence, I saw a little comment on the YouTube channel saying, "Oh, yay, AI." Then I took a look at his profile. Granted, he could probably utilize AI to make some of his thumbnails look better, but I also saw he was working on developing a video game, which is one of the many fields that is being threatened by the advancement of artificial intelligence. It's already started. And it's understandable in a way, if that's their reasoning for the criticism, because they feel it takes a lot of the human element. But while I understand, and this is coming from someone who initially took up courses in like graphic design, web design, things like that, to basically learn how to present myself in a much more professional light, make things look good because I knew I was going to be pursuing the paranormal in some way, shape, or form. Exactly how, I didn't know, but I was trying to do my best to roll with the punches, for lack of a better word. I realized a lot of what I knew how to do was about to be easily replaced because with artificial intelligence, maybe with image design, a lot of the programs still need a lot of work. You've heard me utilize music designs, how the intro and outro song to this program is pretty much completely done by AI. Every now and then, I will actually write lyrics to some of the AI produced songs, but it allows people more accessibility to areas that would have held them up before. Say, like with book publishing, just as an example, with the use of artificial intelligence, the quality of the books, depending on what program you decide to use, may not be the best. But if you're just looking to churn out materials to, excuse me, make a little extra money, and I will be putting together a little something to show how I actually finance the company using these AI programs, but that's going to be a part of a later question. You could easily produce several books in, say, takes you a year to write a book, several chapters, all that. A lot of these AI programs can actually write perhaps a book a day, even. If you just wanted to be kind of lazy about it and just do a book a day, that's 365 potential earners of a little extra income. And with a lot of these free image generators, that takes the need out of trying to find cover designers. And several of these, there's a couple programs, the two big ones out there for self-publishing. You have Kindle Publishing from Amazon, and you also have Ingram Spark. My personal preference is Ingram because it gets your books all in the same places as that Amazon Kindle does, but it also has an even greater reach. Whereas Kindle, yes, it's tied to Amazon, but it's has a little bit of an easier interface to work with. So it's one of those things. If that's something you're wanting to look into, you got to juggle it, see what works for yourself, what you're comfortable with. But when it comes to the supernatural, right? To anyone who wants to try to claim artificial intelligence when they see a potential video of a UFO, of a ghost, or Bigfoot, or anything like that, I encourage you to be skeptical, even if it's something put out, because I'll admit it, I've put out falsified content just to see if the public will actually pick it apart like I want them to analyze it. Because sometimes the skeptics out there, while they may seem like they're being assholes, they might actually make some valid points about what something could be that you didn't consider in that time frame. And that sort of discussion is so valuable. But if you're going to be trying to use just AI as a blanket excuse to say everything you see online is falsified, which could very well be what happens in the near future, considering the dead internet theory is becoming much more possible with artificial intelligence programs becoming more and more sophisticated, but that's an entirely different discussion. you have to realize how these programs work. And to simplify it to the best of my ability, artificial intelligence still needs references. Ben Affleck did, there's a video floating around on social media where Ben Affleck actually explains it best, says it best. AI can learn craftsmanship. That is, which in itself is a skill that can be passed down through teaching, through observing, to where the student is able to replicate what the teacher shows. But AI is just barely getting to a point where it can make art, where it's something unique. It's something that provides value. Now, with that explanation, you may say, well, Dakota, where AI also can save a lot of money, that provides value. And yeah, it does. That might be able to provide value for you, but it is a very subjective state of mind. It's a conversation that clearly needs to be had. My big thing, and it's something I've seen a lot of others try to push for as well, is that if you decide to use artificial intelligence, just be honest about it. Don't hide it. Don't try to hide it. Just don't. Don't try to hide it. Just be say, hey, yes, this was produced by AI. Let's not be scared of its potential because, quite frankly, AI is not going anywhere and it's only going to get better. But for right now, when it comes to UFOs, ghosts, Bigfoot, all that, how can AI have a decent reference to produce these images if the public that contributes potential images can't necessarily agree on what is legitimate and what is not? I mean, how can we provide convincing enough looking UFOs when certain stars that may seem a little too bright in the sky are often misconstrued as UFOs? Do you get what I'm trying to say there? So critics want to try to pick me apart. Fine. Some of them actually provide some decent insight. Others, well, you kind of have to question their motivations, which is another big factor into why people do what they do. What is behind their motivations? What do they seek to gain from doing these types of things? So going back to my statement, if you're going to use AI, be honest about it. That goes to show that you're not trying to make yourself look like something you're not. You're being honest. You're saying, yes, I used this tool to do this. And plus, allowing that exchange allows people to maybe check it out for themselves and hopefully allow themselves to build on something and hopefully use it for good. That's all I gotta say about that. You know, if the critics want to try to dismiss me, fine, that's okay. Give your re I want this is what I would like of them. Give their reasons to why. Because there may be something that I missed, there may be something that you didn't necessarily catch on that I presented that adds credibility to my case. All in all, it's a discussion that needs to be had in a world that is not comfortable with trying to understand the human condition when we can barely read through a single Twitter message. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of soapbox territory. So let's go on to the next question.
Do you have any investigations coming up?
Uh, if I know who asked this question, if I'm certain who I know who asked this question, I figure I know what you mean, but I'm gonna put it like this. Right now, a lot of my focus on investigations have been going into UFO sightings because that's where I've been getting a lot more and more reports of. Now, there's been a few people that have tried to say that all this discussion about the drones and all this talk about UFOs is complete bullshit. They don't necessarily believe it, but they believe in ghosts. Here's the thing. There's a lot more scientific credibility behind the potential for alien life than there is for life after death that's being presented right now. Not to say that it isn't possible for there to be scientific credibility for the afterlife, but we also have to acknowledge that there is a ethical boundary for that type of testing. If I'm not mistaken, when you ask this question, you're talking about do I have any plans to head out to an alleged haunted location, film it, see if I can find anything, blah 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 blah, go through the entire process. Yes, I would like to get back out in the field and do that a little bit more. I miss it in a way. I do, with how complex a lot of things are in dealing with the extraterrestrial side of things. There's some days I miss an old-fashioned ghost hunt where chances are the situation is isolated to one single place. There's less of a chance of whatever it was having completely disappeared altogether, never to be seen again. The major thing going on with that right now is that my car's kind of the vehicle my car, it's kind of acting like it's getting close to the end of its life cycle. Someone who is probably a hell of a lot more mechanically inclined could probably restore it, which once I had the funds set aside, my plan is to get a new vehicle and get back out into the field a little bit more. Because right now, with the vehicle I have now, unless there's certain emergencies, I try to mainly focus that on, running occasional errands, getting to and from my civilian job, maybe an occasional date if schedule's aligned. But yeah, it's getting to be time that I need a new vehicle, and vehicles aren't cheap. So once things are a little bit more settled, yes, my plan is to get back out into the field because I miss it. Dealing with UFO reports, yes, I'm getting out to the field, but chances are whatever was reported is already gone. Now, it would be cool if I were to find something, evidence of something being parked, and I actually saw a news alert when I opened up my webpage earlier about Lockheed Martin potentially finding a crashed UFO, which is something I need to look into for a little later, maybe discuss when we actually have a live section in this episode. But yes, there are investigations being planned. There is some that are going to be tied into a bigger project, which I'll get into for a later question. And so I'm not rambling off too much further. Like I said, yes, there is stuff planned, but the first priority is for me to get a slightly more reliable vehicle. I'll say it. So, if you want to help with that, buy my books, buy my merch, drop a donation if you want to. I'm not gonna force you. I have a job, so it's not a desperate situation at the moment. But on to the next, shall we?
What is your blacklist and how do people get on it? Can they get off?
So some of y'all been paying attention about that, huh? Good. The blacklist. Here's my thing about that. The blacklist will be comprised of individuals who have proven to, how should I put this? Not be acting with the best intentions. They have shown that their motivations for public presentation are questionable. They're not actually in it to actually no, let me rephrase. You know what? Let me just say this. Obviously, anytime you get into either a certain job, a field, a community, you're going to find out that there are bad apples wherever you go. It's something you can't really avoid. The blacklist is a measure for individuals, is a countermeasure to go against individuals who have shown that they are not working within a morals, set moral and ethical limitations. What sort of examples do I have of this? Well, let me put it this way. There's a lot of concern about individuals who may not be presenting legitimate paranormal evidence, fake psychics, that sort of thing. And that is, and I've had a few individuals who have come into focus because it seems like they were pushing certain narratives to try to put themselves into the limelight, even though the narratives were not entirely true. Now, it's something that is to be evaluated on a case-by-case situation, and there is a third party who who has asked to remain anonymous for the time being, who is assisting in these evaluations. The blacklist is a measure to protect Bald and Bonkers, future employees, partnerships, collaborators, what have you. In the terms of psychics being fake, the evaluations behind it will determine if they are acting out of ego, meaning that they're only trying to put themselves further into the limelight, or if it's blatantly obvious they're not exactly 100% knowledgeable about what they're actually talking about. And I'd much rather deal with the latter because usually those individuals are able to learn. They're able to grow. And they may even surpass you in ways that you don't expect. The fool who was willing to learn is so much more valuable asset than the know-it-all who will not try. Those sorts of individuals, like I said in the last episode, like I've said across a few situations, anybody who claims to be all-knowing, that is the biggest, brightest neon sign that they are actually some of the most clueless individuals out there. But again, if it is just that they're not sure about what they're talking about, chances are they're willing to learn, they're willing to grow, they're willing to adapt. And those are the people that are given the chance. For individuals who are clearly out to put themselves into the limelight with malicious. How should I put this? I really want to stress something. We're not. Obviously, it would seem kind of hypocritical for me to try to shut down anybody who seems like they're just in this for the limelight, considering I'm not against showmanship. And this is actually kind of bleeds into the next question, but if it's obvious that certain individuals are using malicious methods to try to achieve their fame, bringing down others, taking advantage of others, that's what gets them on the blacklist. That is one of the ways. Others would be concerns of potential criminal activity, which unfortunately has happened, where some rather serious accusations with valid evidence being presented to support that, yes, something did in fact happen. I'm not going to shut down everybody because they've got everybody who has just speeding ticket, just as an example. Now, if they were speeding, crashed, that may be taken into consideration. But if that's it's not a big deal. It reminds an example of the sorts of behaviors that are going to be considered red flags that are going to make individuals harder to bring off of the blacklist if this does in fact end up being the case would be like an young man who I saw on one of the local rants and raves Facebook pages posting about why no companies would seem to hire a felon with an assault with a deadly weapon charge against them. And not that they're being investigated, it's that they've gone to trial, served time behind bars, and based on some of the activity that was on their social media, and because they didn't know how to lock that shit up like they should, it showed that he had not changed his ways. People have the right to protect themselves, to not associate with who they want to associate. And obviously, in business, you have to keep a tight rope on certain things because one at one incident that crosses pretty much universal moral boundaries can damage you for life. There's very little that can be done to really bring you back from that. It's possible, but it would be very difficult. Now, I'm not going to mention any particular names. None of that. I imagine there's going to be some who will be wanting to ask, well, is this person on your list? Is this person on your list? And this person on your list? That's why the list is maintained by a third party. I'll provide information where I can, but they analyze everything I do. They look into everybody that we go to reach out to, manage to bring on the show, things like that. And they are damn good at digging up materials. And this individual is actually involved with our legal department, with the company's legal department, who advises, who has helped advise tightening things around to prevent previous incidents from taking place. Now, I'll have confessed before that I have made some ill-advised choices to participate in the spreading of information that harmed the reputation of others. And I'm wanting to nip that in the bud. I don't want that to be happening anymore with my platforms. Now, if there's a legitimate concern and certain things need to be notified, absolutely. I'll speak the information. But going to utilize the fact that I am an investigator, God damn it. If I'm going to be presenting information, I need to do my part in presenting what evidence I have to the best of my ability to show my case, to show that yes, something is in fact going on, to show what it is that raised certain red flags with me that made me feel compelled to share certain information. And like I said, with that motion, I've been collaborating with my company's legal team to ensure that things run a little bit smoother. As for the second part of that question, can they get off? Absolutely. The blacklist is not meant to be a one and done deal. Once you're on it, you're gone. Unless, well, it will really depend on the circumstances behind each case, and it's going to be on a case by case evaluation. Say if you're a murderer, yeah, we're probably not going to bring you back. Now, if the situation was out of self-defense, we'll hear your story. Want to make sure that we get all the facts right. And for individuals who have raised certain concerns, yeah, absolutely. If they show that they are legitimately trying to do better, then yeah, we can start mending those bridges. And it is something that I would like to do a little bit more. And it's actually going to be part of the last question I selected to be used for this video. But but to summarize, the blacklist is meant to protect the company, protect those we work with from individuals who will have malicious intent. But we will not be participating in these gossip games anymore. We'll not be broadcasting that there's certain individuals that should be stopped. We're not going to be contributing to the drama, and we highly encourage everybody who follows us to try to follow that same path, because there's still a lot of people who are growing. There's a lot of people who are hurting, who are struggling, and we're going to be seeing a lot of stuff coming out. We have already been seeing a lot of stuff coming out in regards to several political leaders, but we're going to be seeing a lot more that's completely falsified. And the individuals who go to spread this information will not give a shit. They're just wanting views. They're just wanting to make themselves look better. Please, 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 please use discernment. Because the one thing that's going to help every single one of us get through this is coming together, working together, trying to be better together. And we have to work on our own demons in order to make that happen. Now, if certain things happened in the distant past and someone has made an active effort to be better, they should not be punished for something they have already been punished for. And this is in regards to individuals who take the time to go through old social medias and all the information to try to dig up dirt on individuals just to paint them in a false light, even if they've done everything they can to confront that situation, to make amends for things they did. People should be allowed second chances if they show that they're willing to work for it, that they have worked for it, that they've grown, that they've learned. But we shouldn't also try to judge people based on what little tidbits of information we find, what we think we know is going on. There's a phrase from Edgar Allan Poe that I think should be spread a lot more, to be taken into consideration with everything that's going to come forward in the next few years. Believe none of what you hear and only half of what you see. I'll be honest, first heard that saying in X-Men 97 coming from Beast and thought it was perfect. And that's why I use it a lot. So the point is behind all this is that this company was founded on the idea of sharing stories, allowing people to find a way to understand what's really going on out there. And the one things that make the stories are the important details. And the things that are going to ring true the most is the truth, no matter how amazing or disturbing it may be. The truth will always ring, the truth will always sing until the end, where lies will fall flat. I like that. That's a good one. I should really be putting this stuff on t-shirts. Anyway, next question, please.
What is your logic for using entertainment with your work if you want to be seen as a serious investigator?
Because if I come up on here trying to discuss these situations with a stick up my butt, are you gonna want to listen? No. If you go to see me in action, you know you're gonna my actions out in the field will show enough. But I also have a strong belief that when it comes to these materials, we can't try to hold ourselves too seriously. We have to acknowledge that there's so much we don't really understand when it comes to the paranormal that at any given moment we may be proven wrong. If we're just like, oh, yes, no, this, no, this, no, this is absolutely true because you're gonna lose out. It speaks volumes. It speaks more volumes to the types of people you want to follow your journey, that you want to follow in your life, if you're able to acknowledge that you could very well be wrong. I could very well be wrong on a lot of stuff I've presented. There's been times where I've been wrong. There's been times where I've completely missed the mark on some stuff, and I admit that. But also at the same time, knowing from my own personal experiences, when dealing with the supernatural and you have very little knowledge of what's actually happening, it can be a scary situation. Even under the best of circumstances, it can be kind of scary wanting to talk about it, wanting to share it with other people. So, by keeping a sort of lighthearted approach to a majority of the situations, obviously show respect and thoughtful consideration with how I present myself given certain topics, certain sensitivities, being like I was mentioning before, when it comes to like proving a ghosts are real, that's going to cross some very serious ethical boundaries because you're waiting for someone to die, then somehow come back and tell you what happened. presenting, this sort of entertainment format, that allows me to reach more people. That allows me to stick the information I have deeper into the mind. Because if you were to go to a presentation and an individual presented themselves like this the entire time, you're probably going to go into a small coma now, wouldn't you? Now, I imagine some of you probably need to get some sleep. Please do. Just, just if you need to go to get some sleep, it's okay. Sleep is good for you. If you're tired, get some rest. But if you have someone who's a bit more lively that goes to present, that actually, tries to make it a good time, even for subjects that might be a little uncomfortable, you're not going to feel as pressured to listen to what they have to say. And even if you're completely against it, the entertainment aspect will allow it to still stick with you. One individual, I believe, showcases this absolutely perfectly. Doesn't necessarily have to deal with anything supernatural, but it's an individual by the name of Mark Grunger. And chances are, if you have taken a psychology course, that might be a familiar name. And if that name isn't familiar with you, it's going to be the video that's probably going to stick out to you the most is called A Tale of Two Brains. And Mark Unger, I believe that's his name. Basically, he's a pastor, does a lot of couples therapy. He put together this seminar that's essentially couples counseling and tries to make it entertaining because, like I said, if you are in a presentation with someone who constantly just goes like this, you're not gonna want to listen to what they say. Or someone's constantly yelling, screaming at you. You're not gonna want to listen to that either, really. It's one thing to get fired up about certain subjects, to show passion about it, but in the right doses. Now, I bring up Tale of Two Brains because I actually managed to, I believe you can still find the full seminar where that video comes from online. It's from like a 3-day marriage counseling seminar, and it brings up a lot of comparisons between men and women, husbands and wives, to point out why certain things that annoy us about the opposite sex take place and how to work through them. It's actually I really like how he does his work. And he actually explains it for himself that maybe you're just coming in because you want to have a good time. Obviously, husbands talking about marriage counseling, that's going to be kind of a drag for them most of the time because of the stereotypes that the counselor is just going to side with the woman, make them out to be the perpetrator in everything that's going wrong. Whereas if he's whereas someone's showing that they're trying to have a good time, actually trying to help, try to show this information, try to help people make their lives better by presenting this information. Not only are you going to want to listen, but that lack of pressure is going to allow you to take in that information better and potentially change your life. Now, certain things may not apply to you whatsoever, but if the guy's still funny, you're going to still enjoy and still carry it with you so that maybe if the time comes for certain subject matters to come up and you've heard it from this individual, like I said, it allows you to imprint that deeper into your brain. So when it does become important, it's right there. So, and I want to direct this question towards anybody who tries to use the fact that I try to incorporate humor to a lot of my works. Because let's just face it, if you don't do that, you're going to lose your audience. And if you're wanting to share information, a rough, a rough sort of rule of thumb that I was once told in dealing with public presentation is to put your information like you're presenting to a large group of intelligent 9-year-olds. Basically, break it down to where a child can understand it. Obviously, if you're going to be dealing with kids, you're going to want to make it entertaining so they listen to what you got to say, so they actually pay attention. But this is my methods. This works for me. I encourage people to try to experiment, see what works for them if they decide to go down this road, whether it's through podcasting, presentations, anything like that. Because you want to have your audience pay attention to what you got to say, right? Well, this is what works for me. If it doesn't work for you, all right, then go experiment. Go see what works for you. Let's get on to the next question before I go rambling on a little bit more any further.
What's the status of the documentary you were planning on getting released? How does it tie with your new approach to the company?
Yes, the Why We Are Supernatural documentary. It's it's still in the early frustrating planning stages. It is going to happen. How it comes to fruition might change in the future, but because obviously certain things have come up to where certain things had to be shelved, but it is happening. The legal team I have consulted, they have measures in dealing with intellectual property, having people sign over their likeness, this and that. We're currently trying to iron out all the kinks so that once things are properly set in motion, we can simply just try to have the necessary forms ready in somewhat of a plain English so they're easier for more people to understand. Maybe even provide like audio commentary for individuals who have issues with reading. Not saying that they're illiterate, just saying that for large enough of people it's that interested in the supernatural that seem to have issues with some form of dyslexia. I'm not saying that to judge them. I'm just saying, hey, a lot of individuals have approached me about this when they heard that I was going to be trying to look into doing audiobooks, and yes, that is also part of the plan. It's there. It's just finding the right platforms and getting the right setup together to make sure everything runs smoothly. But with the documentary, officially the label would be pre-production. It's going to be it's going to try to incorporate individuals from all over the globe. Want to get as many different backgrounds, as many different stories, as many different perspectives on this phenomenon. Even some skeptics are going to be allowed to pitch in their 2 cents. How does the how does it work with the new approach to my company? The new approach to the company, like I mentioned in a previous episode, there's going to be a third main show that is going to be sort of more of a interview-based program that I'm going to incorporate into the documentary. So individuals that you see on this interview-based show could potentially end up in the documentary itself. Basically, this is a way for me to allow every aspect of the company to be almost self-lubricating in a way. Allow everything to run smoothly. With these conversations with the new show, I'm going to go into it a little bit more later. It's going to tie into what brings people to exploring the supernatural. That's going to be a lot of what the focus is. Not all the episodes for that program are going to stick with supernatural topics. We're going to branch out like we always do because let's face it, every aspect of life can influence how we perceive the supernatural. That's just a fact of it. So, with, like I said, with the new approach to the company, how does it tie to it? It's going to be more inclusive. It's going to be better prepped to avoid all issues that we had with previous incarnations of this idea. So that means dealing with lawyers, but it'll be cool. It'll be cool because once everything's said and done, once it's all put together, once all the necessary requirements are put together for it, we already have a distributor lined up to help us get the program out to streaming platforms already established. So yes, they have partnerships with Netflix, with Hulu, with all. I think even Disney Plus is on that list. But it'll help get us out there as far and wide as possible. But it'll also be made available for free with ads on the main Bald and Bonkers YouTube channel. So to ensure that there's no confusion about how it's going to be distributed and potentially to try to get people compensation for their contributions, potentially, I'm working out all the kinks to the best of my ability. This is where the lawyers are coming in to try to help sort out those details. Because I would like to, what the fuck? What the, oh, okay. Okay. Whoa, 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 whoa. Pause the show. Pause the questions. Pause the questions. That was weird. What was that? All right, I'm gonna explain something real quick. What just happened? I was looking at the corner of my eye and I thought I saw what looked like a blue light kind of sitting there. And mm, okay, what time? What time is it right now? It is 12:24 a.m. Ooh, okay. Um, I'm gonna have a hard time focusing on the rest of these questions now that that's happened. So anyway, documentary. It's in pre-production, discussing details with lawyers, establishing some financing options, potentially some partnerships. Just got to work through all the kinks, and there's a lot when it comes to these types of projects, so it's gonna might take a little bit of time. But what in the fuck was that?
How are you currently financing Bald and Bonkers? This can't be cheap to set up since you established it as an LLC.
That was weird. All right. Speaking of financing, yes, I heard your question. Um, Currently, the main source of income with Bald and Bonkers is actually coming from the sales of the various books I've put out, most of which have been written utilizing AI. I just used a random name generator to fill in the author's names so that way all the necessary criteria in order to push it through the book printers it can be filled. I really should put together a list of the pseudonyms used for Bald and Bonkers books. But yeah. And as far as it can't be cheap to set up ever since it became an LLC, yeah, it's not cheap to do. It's not. I think if I remember correctly, we when we set it up, I set it up. It almost it costs over $1,000 to deal with all the necessary fees, and that is just basically doing the bare legal minimum. Which there's a few things I can get away with, but being it mainly just me right now, the legal and HR representatives are actually outsourced through different companies, so they're technically not Bald and Bonkers affiliated. I will admit that right now, but they're through separate firms. I want to eventually develop an in-house team, but it's going to take a lot of time before that's possible. But anyway, and unfortunately, there was a bit of an incident where either I did something wrong with the filing or it's just a matter of bad timing. But when it was officially established on April 1st, that was too close to the deadline for filing certain taxes. And I ended up having to pay a $500 fine because I couldn't get the taxes off. And I didn't exactly have much legal ground to fight it. So that sucked. But actually, if I recall, the payments I've received through Bonkers books so far have actually split the difference. Now, so you're probably wondering, okay, if it's the books, how much through the books are you making a month? It's mainly through the books I've put out. And the payments between that have been anywhere on the low end, it's been about, say, 25 US dollars. On the high end, there was a couple payments we had that were like $280. And with the book printer we have, we don't have to, it's completely free for us to set up any books that we want, as many books as we want. So that's why I've decided to use this. And it's through Ingram Spark. If you want to check it out for yourself, if it's something you're interested in. But the way it works, any fees that come from them printing up the book and all that, just distribution costs, they handle on their end. So when you get the payments, that's yours to keep. They take out any fines from any returns that you've had, take care of any fees. They take a small cut to, printing costs and all that. So that way you get to keep all the money. You keep what's left. So, like, we almost hit 600 books last year, 600 copies last year of books sold. So we did pretty good. We did pretty good. And that's mainly how I've been financing the channel. Obviously, there's other ways. There's the merchandise stops, there's affiliate links through Amazon. But the two top ones right now have been through Bonkers Books and through the monetization of the YouTube channel. And just enough funds have been collected for me to be able to pay the subscription fees for the services I use to put content out, the social media manager, the Streamlabs, as well as the basically handling all of the necessary taxes, paperwork, the subscription fees for legal. It's been enough to where I haven't really had to contribute any additional funds from my own paychecks from my civilian job, even though initially when we were getting things up and running, that's how I financed everything, was through my own paycheck. So I didn't exactly have any business loans to help me. There were credit cards and bootstrapping is the term for it. So no, it's not cheap to do this, but and if starting up your own business is something you want to look into, regardless of what it may be. It's a commitment. It's a commitment because as the saying goes, you don't necessarily make a profit until your business is about 5 years old. So it it can really put you in a bind. And something that a lot of people don't realize about entrepreneurs is that that is actually one of the biggest demographics for suicide attempts. Because people get into this like, yeah, I'm my own boss. Yeah, I get to do what I want. They realize it's nowhere near as glamorous as they thought. You got to put in the work. You got to be ready for the struggle. The struggle is real, my friends. It's real. You got to keep grinding, not that kind. God, get your mind out of the gutter so we can go to the next question.
Is there a particular reason why you have gaming videos on some of your channels? I thought you were just a paranormal guy.
You got a problem with me being a gamer? Because that's all that is. There's nothing wrong with it. All right. Okay, why do I have gaming videos on certain channels of mine? First off, here's one thing I've noticed when it comes to people on social media websites that when you go to decide to follow certain individuals for whatever reason for the content they put out, there seems to be a lot of people who develop this assumption that people online are very one-dimensional. If I go on to do paranormal stuff, you think that's all I do. I used to have people complain that I only, it's like, why are you looking into aliens? I thought you were just ghosts and demons. It's like, no, I'm a human being. I have many different interests. I have been fortunate enough in my almost 29 years of life on this planet to get to explore many of those interests, have a many amazing opportunities that aren't slowing down anytime soon, from the looks of things, fingers crossed. So the I'm not one dimensional. In fact, I've even been in a couple video games. One is one that went seemed to get particularly popular was called Scorn. It was kind of grotesque, but and some people are like, "Well, I played that game. There's no dialogue. How can you be in it?" Well, look through the credits. That's me, buddy. I'm in it. And there's been a few other projects. I mean, I've had the privilege of going into have have my name tied to movies, TV shows, books, comics, music. I've been all over the place, man, and I love it. And as far as the gaming videos go, before any of the fancy stuff I get to do nowadays, what it came to me, little confession. One of the first things that afflicted me in dealing with life, in dealing with the supernatural, trying to process in everything, ensuring I wasn't going crazy, and just to have a release from the stresses of the world, I developed a little bit of a gaming addiction. Now it's a lot more under wraps than it used to be now, because doing those gaming videos, it'll show me the timer of how long I've been recording, so I know how long I've been playing, so I know when to cut myself off. Because there have been certain video games, Red Dead Redemption being one of the worst, where I could literally play that. I think my longest streak on that game was like 15 hours straight. And let's just say I don't remember seeing the sun that day. Oh, yeah, I used to be that bad. So, yeah. Um, that's mainly the reason why. Plus, with gaming videos, that allows me to reach to a little bit wider audience, and it also helps me scope out some very socially awkward individuals to help me with my studies in dealing with the public, so I can help others combat these sorts of individuals who clearly, clearly are so socially awkward that they do not know how to talk to another human being, that whatever situations have happened and made them so isolated that their only way to get interactions from people is by being dicks online, by trolling. And quite frankly, it's disturbing in a way, but it helps me study. So yeah, comment on my gaming videos, make your little remarks. Remember, I'm trained in law enforcement procedure. I know forensics. I know I've actually been looking into courses that would help me develop some of my cyber skills. If I have to come find you, I will. And if I had to deal with you using my legal department, I don't want to. I don't want that stress upon my soul. But if it comes to that point, I will. So if you don't like the gaming videos, just go watch something else. Be a grown up. There's a magical little ability to turn something off. Yeah, no, I can be a bit of a sarcastic ass, but that it is the truth. I do the gaming videos because seeing that timer helps me shut it off. That's the bare truth. So let's get on to the next.
You mentioned two other shows as being your company's main focus for content that are coming up: a rework of Frandsen Files and an interview based show. What is going on with those?
Yes, we're starting to get to the juicy stuff. All right. Yes, I did mention that there's going to be two other shows other than Intergalactic Gigolo. Hey there. That are going to be part of the Bald Bonkers main content pages for further notice. One was going to be a rework of Frandsen Files, and the other was going to be the interface show that I mentioned. Well, starting with the Frandsen Files, I'm going at things from a new perspective. Kind of to go back to the AI thing, part of the reason I've been taking the courses is because I've been trying to develop a supernatural based AI for some time. What do I mean by that? Basically, an AI that helps investigate supernatural claims. And it was, if you've actually read my new book, I Am the Specialist of the Strange, it's been out since Halloween. And this coming week, there's actually going to be an expanded edition coming out to tie into the release of my fictional multiversal anthology, Nightmares Among All Worlds. Just read the book and it'll make sense why there's that inclusion. I'm working on a separate project that currently is utilizing the book formats, Bonkers books, to release each segment of it as a separate ebook. And it's called the Frandsen Files Compendium. And if you read through I Am the Specialist of the Strange, towards the end of the book, you may have noticed a little notice where I said be on the lookout for it. Frandsen Files Compendium is a collection of my own research, which I am compiling into these documents to not only provide further insights into my own exploits involving the supernatural, but to create a database in which to train the artificial intelligence programs I am developing into recognizing supernatural phenomenon. It involves case studies, theories, references to other prominent individuals who I didn't steal their work. I referenced it, built on top of it. Right, see, like right now, there's a few details about my investigations, locations, dealings with extraterrestrials, profiles about my star family. There's incidents about demons, literal demons I've dealt with. There's all sorts of chunks. Just before I was recording this message, I was working on. It is currently up to 44 entries, which once I get a few more in, I'll release the first semi-full edition of it. Basically, one entry is being released a week as an ebook, and there's going to be collections. Once enough entries have been released, they'll be released as physical books that you can buy online. And as it grows and grows, more and more books tying to this are going to be released, put out into the public. Compilations of everything, tidied up notes, things like that. And like I said, this is to build a knowledge database based on everything I've gone through, all of my research into certain things, various aspects that do tie to the supernatural in some way, shape, or form. Some entries may not necessarily make sense at first until you read through it all. So, with that, the Frandsen Files show is also going to tie into this compendium a little more. So, I'm wanting to get more information put together so that way, when I go to put out a show, you can realize, oh, you can read through this compendium and read more into it. So that's sort of the plan. I'm trying again, going back to how I said I want to try to build these operations to where they're almost self-lubricating in a way. And like I said, due to the production time it takes to put together a decent Frandsen Files episode, that will be sort of a special broadcast. It'll come out from time to time. As for the interview-based show, like I said, being that my plans are to tie it directly into the Why We Are Supernatural documentary, even though it won't necessarily be exclusively to discuss supernatural topics, I want to include a few other things in there. That is also being sorted, and once I have more information, I'm a bit more comfortable with how it sits, how everything's looking. I will release more information once I feel it is ready. Because another thing I'm trying to do more of is talk less about the various projects I get involved in the event these projects get shot down for whatever reason. And I've had plenty of those. It happened. It just happens when you go into this type of stuff. Things get shut down for one reason or another, then maybe you give it new life in some way down the line, or you just find other ways to move on. And speaking of moving on,
Do you have any regrets you want to clear for the new year?
yes, we're going to get a little deep. Do I have any regrets I want to clear for the new year? Actually, I am glad this got asked because there's a couple things. For one, now it may seem sort of ingenuine of me to talk about these subjects in such a public forum that clearly should be dealt with more so in private. And I will say this because a lot of people who may know me may know that sometimes me kind of bringing out a little bit of showmanship when I talk about certain subjects is my way of playing off of the energy the anxiety is giving me, so I'm able to push through and basically allow myself to power through that. Because I'll be honest, growing up, you wouldn't think that a guy like me would have had issues with social anxiety, but it was huge. And I say this because recently, an old friend of mine, someone who a lot of you may have actually heard me talk about on the show, they uh, they reached out to me because I don't really want to get into a lot of detail because it is their part of it is incredibly personal. And because of something that this person did that helped me, I don't necessarily feel comfortable going into full details. But this was actually a question from her, in a way. And with her, it was more along the lines of not having the courage to speak my feelings at the time when apparently she shared them. The feelings were mutual. But life took us in different directions. But yet, the the binds of the supernatural that are literally flowing through my blood made it so she has kept watching all these years. And she made some very valid points. She's seen a lot of the programs I've done, and noticed the evolution, how much I've changed. While, yes, still in spirit the same person, how much I've changed and developed over time. And some of you could probably tell this was a heavy one. Still is. But it doesn't seem as let's just say you can probably figure by how I'm reacting right now, the news was not good. But it's looking like it may not necessarily be as serious as initially thought. So, happy thoughts there. But it made me, but this exchange, it made me kind of think about things a little bit further. And I even talked with my therapist about this. Do I have regrets I want to clear for the new year? One. One in particular. Well, two. There's two in particular that I want to bring up. The first being towards someone I considered a brother, Chris. I know you still poke your head around, my man. Um, I kn I know that you know by now that me kind of talking about this type of stuff, it's easier to for me to do it in this format, but I want to tell you I'm sorry. I want to tell you that I should have communicated better. Now, am I saying this because I want us to start working together again soon? No. I feel like you and I both have outgrown the need to work together, and yeah, it's an aspect of life. It's not something that I'm mad towards. It's not something that I regret. But as I've taken time to calm down, I also realize that as much as I am actually grateful for you, grateful for our time together, because in your own way, you pushed me into taking on something that I've always wanted to do. In your own way, you helped get the ground, helped get it on the ground and moving. And I thank you for that. And when the time comes, once I have things a little bit more set in stone, I would like you to be at least one of the first guests for the interview program I've talked about. Because we may have our differences in how certain things should be dealt with. You set up a pretty good program for yourself, man. I think I do genuinely believe that you've found a good way for yourself to really contribute what made me see you as a brother. And in I know that there's probably going to be a shit ton of stressful life stuff going your way. I get that. My only hope for you is that you hold on to that notion. Allow yourself to do some good in spite of whatever stresses may come. Don't necessarily listen to anything that's going on in the head. The head can be kind of an asshole. Follow the heart. As long as you keep doing that, you're going to be able to achieve what it is I fully believe you want to achieve. And I also hear a little bit of a rumor that you're looking into getting some help paying for a new PC. I feel the stress, brother, but if it is I think it is, something that you may want to look into as sort of a temporary band-aid to this issue, if it is what I think it is. If you have a spare USB flash drive that's got at least 4 gigs of memory to it, look up how to establish virtual RAM. You can actually use the flash drive to give you about 4 more gigabytes of RAM to help your computer run a little better, especially when dealing with like stuff, streaming and things like that. So that might help you out. Something to look into. Like I say, if you got a flash drive that you're not using that's just lying around, it doesn't cost anything to do it. It shouldn't cost you anything, I should say. Yes, there's a bunch of people that sell those sorts of flash drives already formatted online, but when you see how easy it is, you'll realize they're ripping people off, which ain't cool, man. But in all seriousness, sorry, allergies. I do want to thank you for being a brother. And if you want to post that little GoFundMe to help pay for the PC, go right ahead. What I'll do from my end, I don't exactly have the funds right now to contribute. I may a little later once my next paycheck comes in. But what I can do is I can put that link into the episode description. So that way, when I go to reshare this as the audio podcast, that link will sit there and it should actually help increase the likelihood of it being found. I'm not gonna guarantee that it'll get you the funds that you're looking for, but it should help a little bit getting it out there. But that's up to you, man. Okay. Like I said before, I want to extend an olive branch. Let's not let this BS that cause issues affect things further. It's not like you and I have much else hair that we can lose. Even though, yes, I noticed that you starting to look like a fucking Billy Goat. As far as me, I'm shocked I'm able to get this fucking much on my face. It is surprising to me, to be honest. I didn't think I could be able to grow this much. But anywho, speaking of brothers, I was looking through some of the follower counts, and I noticed a particular name. I don't know for sure if the name is who I think it is. Spelling is a little off, but also knowing the circumstances, it wouldn't surprise me that you would want to switch things up. But I'm just going to leave it like this. Little brother, if that's you, you're seeing this, you want to talk, my lines are open. I think with everything that happened, yes, I've kind of talked about the situations that put us into the mess we found ourselves on the show, but little brother, if that's you, I would like to hear from you again. Because from what I'm told, you've been doing pretty good for yourself. And if that's the case, I'm proud of you.
I walked away when you needed me most, left you alone with a haunting ghost. Now I'm back with a heart to mend, wounds to heal and a soul to send. I'm sorry for leaving, but I'm here for healing. Caught in a whirlwind of hurt and feeling. Time can mend what the past has broken. Words unspoken need to be spoken. Let's build a bridge from pain to peace. Torn hearts mended to a perfect crease. Your shadow lingers like a fading star. Love lost, but never too far. Now I stand with open arms to soothe your pain and calm your storms. I'm sorry for leaving, but I'm here for healing. Caught in a whirlwind of hurt and feeling. Time can mend what the past has broken. Words unspoken need to be spoken. Together we can rise from the dark. Reignite the fire from a tiny spark. Love's a journey worth every mile. With each step.
Why can you not see me? What the fuck? That's better. Okay. I don't know what went wrong there. Hold on. Okay. That was weird. I do not know what happened there. Oh, that was not an easy message to record. But I do feel better. I did see while the video was playing, there was one question. Kind of looks like somebody was trying to poke the bear a little bit. Did see that it did get deleted in the main chat. But I think it should be something that should be addressed. And the question was, who made the plan to scam people with Galactic Federations, medbeds, Ascended Masters, starseeds, quantum financial systems, reptilians, and all that kind of savior BS new edge to it? I think you mean new age. Here. I'm not going to sit here and grill you, because chances are you're not looking for much of an answer. This is just my interpretation of it. But as far as who made the plan, if you believe that this type of stuff is just complete BS, that's your prerogative, man. If there was some sort of plan to kind of falsify information to trick people, you got to admit, it's actually not that hard. You can look into studies behind how religions get put together, cults, all that stuff. 90%. This is actually something that kind of goes into something I've been looking into. But a lot of sort of this new age savior mess, because I agree with you, there's aspects of this where it seems like people are trying to establish a religion around it, and even for the sake of argument, let's say alleged beings involved are saying, knock that shit off. In much more polite terms, but that's the general concept. There are going to be people that try to scam. There are going to be people that try to twist the fact that there's no set understanding of how this stuff actually works. There's going to be people that just completely don't know what the hell they're talking about, messing things up. And that type of stuff, when you really look at it, has pretty much been going on for as long as people have shared information, have told stories over time. Do I believe there's something to it? Absolutely. But that is my prerogative. That is my perspective. I have my reasons for that. But I'm not going to sit and waste my time trying to convince people that, yes, this stuff is real. I can sit here and present an argument, present my perspective on the matters, I can share what events have transpired to lead me to certain conclusions. I suspect, based on, because I took a look at your profile before the message got deleted, that you're among the types that are saying, well, if this information, this technology, all that is out there, why the hell do we not have our hands on it? You gotta face it, brother. Even if certain stories are completely BS, you got to admit that the militaries of the world like to hold on to the fancy toys for themselves. There's a lot that's being studied. There was discussions of quantum teleportation, the alleged crashed UFO from Lockheed Martin that I really should look into in a little bit more detail before I try to comment too much about it. I even saw that there's been plans released for these plane manufacturers to allow some of their aircraft to be able to seemingly change shape while they're in the air. That sort of morph into looking like different sorts of aircraft. Because when you think about it from a military perspective, they can go in, fly in a plane that's one shape, bomb the hell out of a place, then fly away as a different shape, and people would lose it in the confusion. It does not take that much to get people riled up, especially in these group mentalities. And there are whole playbooks about how to manipulate these sorts of communities, which is a part of the reason why I always say use your own discernment. Do a little bit of research, see what evidence gets presented. But if you also try to follow this insight that science has all the answers to everything, then why would we still have science? Anybody who actually has an understanding of how the scientific process works, regardless if you feel like mainstream is suppressing information, every answer we find only leads to 1,000 more questions. And that's the whole purpose. It's about learning. It's about seeing what's out there. And I'm just going to say this, sitting around, you can find out a whole bunch of stuff about individuals, what's going on in the world, stuff like that, by sitting around on your computer. But there's also parts where don't necessarily dock everything because it sounds so out there. Do I admit that there's some shady stuff going on? Yeah, absolutely. And I do not have enough time to run all those down. I will say that. I'll say that up front. I've unfortunately been tricked by some of these individuals myself. But when you actually look at it, we try to go in without too many preconceived notions. A lot of the information that is presented can be achieved. There is certain scientific backing with our current understanding of what is possible now. It might be in its bare infancy, and some of the connections that people draw out, even I'll admit it, even some of the connections I've tried to push forward to present, to try to give these sorts of arguments, to try to contribute, actually sit down and contribute to the debate, I could be way off. And there has to be an aspect where if you go into this field, you have to be prepared to say, I was wrong. Sit down, take a breath, find out where it is things got messed up, then move forward, because that's all we can do. As far as trying to look for someone who started the scam, as you referred it to, Human psychology has not changed in the last few thousand years. The way our brains work, still the same. So people of the distant past, they are capable of the same complex thought processes as today. They've reached their own conclusions. They've heard stories about some weird events, and as those stories it's a game of telephone. So is there aspects of this that are a complete scam? In a whole scope, you're going to find scams in just about everything. But as far as trying to track down a certain individual, that's for your own discernment, man. I cannot give you that answer. Because for one, some of us have lives to get back to outside of this stuff. And that's how I'm going to end this show. Be sure to follow the main Bald Bonkers YouTube channel. We have AI deep dive discussions about our nightmares among all worlds multiversal anthology series that's loosely based on a lot of my supernatural stuff, and there may or may not be some psychic predictions that are embedded into the storylines. With Los Angeles on fire, it's probably not one of the books that's set in Los Angeles is probably not going to sit well with certain individuals, but it is what it is. So that's all I have for today. Come back next week. I think what we're going to do is we're going to try to talk a little bit more about what's going on with the Los Angeles fires and any other developments that might happen over the next week. Unless, depending on what is the plan, I may have to do this show early because next week on Sunday is my birthday, and my family and I would plan out to go out to dinner that day, sometime during the weekend when we're all off work. So that is the plan. We have a chat message. Hold on. I'm going to take a look at this before. Anyway, Dots, thanks for coming along. Thanks for all who decided to pop up and watch this show. Sarah, thank you for coming. Much love. Take care. We'll see y'all next time.
Shooters for ladies in a trance, can't resist his asteroid dance. Meteor showers lighting up skies, with his charm no surprise. Planets cheer when he arrives, Jovian nights come alive. Solar flares in his control, romance written in black hole. Martian cities light up in glee, skyways open, love is free. Saturn rings to serenade, harmony in the stars display. He's the intergalactic gigolo, galaxy-wide he's the show. Spreading love everywhere he goes, stars and laughter in his flow. He's the intergalactic gigolo, galaxy-wide he's the show. Spreading love everywhere he goes, stars and laughter in his flow. He's the intergalactic gigolo, galaxy-wide he's the show. Spreading love everywhere he goes, stars and laughter in his flow. He's the intergalactic gigolo, galaxy-wide he's the show.